good film. I've seen everything.
You have an opportunity. Who is your favorite villain? Favorite villain, and it's an opportunity to really think through this answer.
This guy here knows, ladies and gentlemen, John Lancie! There is a little story behind the question John was just asked, because when we were in Calgary a few weeks ago for the 25th reunion of Next Generation, and we were all there, the 9 original cast members, and then someone in the audience asked that question, who was my favorite villain, and I thought for a long time, and then I said, well, you know, there was a Ferengi, not realizing that it was a setup to bring John onto the stage. So he gave me a chance this time to correct myself. Of course it was Q! You're happy on your feet?
There we go. Yeah, no, I'm happy on my feet. I've been sitting for yes, that was rather amusing.
It was embarrassing. I mean, at my age, I'd drop a cue of that kind. But the thing is, none of us knew John was there. Oh yes, and that was funny too. Really shouldn't have let out without reminder.
Should we continue answering questions?
Let's do that. Yeah, I think we were over this side now.
Oh, you know what? I jumped in front of this man over here, and he should have his question.
Oh, that's all right. That was a pretty welcome surprise.
He asked me for an autograph within a millisecond of that.
I tried to get the words out. It was a little hard, a little starstruck. I'm sorry. My name is Robbie, and may I just say it's an honor and a privilege to be able to get the opportunity to talk to both you, Sir Patrick Stewart, and John Lancie, also known as Q or Agent Dark Booty. I'm sorry, I do know that one. Anyway, my question for both of you is, also I have a request for later. What are your thoughts on Gene Roddenberry's idea of the future that Star Trek was put in and set?
I didn't fully understand the last remark.
What were his thoughts about, what are our thoughts about his notion of the future?
Yes, his notion of a better future for mankind.
John?
I think it's the seminal idea of Star Trek, that the world will be better. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why the show was as popular as it was in the beginning, and certainly why it has continued, and probably why we really need it now.
Yeah. Sir Patrick?
Well, here.
How about a scotch?
I wouldn't mind one right about now.
Yeah, I know, it's heading that way, isn't it? I'll tell you, I like to tell this little anecdote about a letter I received towards the end of the series, and it was for me the most potent communication I ever had from a fan, and it came from a police sergeant in the Las Vegas Police Department. And it was quite a long letter, and he told me quite a lot about his life and work and so forth. And he said that there are days, however, he comes home and he's close to despair with the aspects of mankind, the selfishness, the greed, the brutality, the murderousness that he has had to witness. And when he feels like that, there is only one antidote, he said, that is, he goes to a shelf and he takes down a DVD of Star Trek The Next Generation. And it assures him that, indeed, things will be better. And I agree with John. I think that was the very core and heart and potency of what we did.
That question because Star Trek I grew up watching Star Trek, mainly The Next Generation. My dad would watch it in syndication and watch it as a kid, and it has inspired me to become an engineer to try to make some of the technology in Star Trek come to life here.
There are two things that you said in that, which we all know, and I think is worth saying again. When your dad and you watch the show, I can't tell you how many people come up to us and say, my grandfather, my father, and I, it was a family show that everybody was able to watch at different levels of appreciation and comprehension. And the other thing is that I had a man walk up to me in an airport and he said, well, you have given me so many years of entertainment. And if you ever want to see the real thing, and he handed me his card, and he was the launch director for the missile launch director for the Annenberg Air Force Base, and that was his entry. Star Trek, what Gene did was his entry. He created a tent, and that tent became larger and larger, and it brought in obviously people who enjoyed the show, but then people who enjoyed science. And fiction, and history, and computers, and costumes, and movies, and it just became, and has become, this enormous tent for which we all gather, under which we all gather.
The next person to let them ask a question.
Yeah, shut up!
I made a promise that I have to keep to one of my best friends back home. He couldn't make it up here. He wanted me to at least ask you, could you give the command to go to warp speed?
Hold on to your seats.
Did I ever say that? I don't think I ever said that, did I? I did?
Yes.
I mean, but you can't just say go to warp speed. There was a number. There was a factor involved.
Warp 9.
What?
Warp 9.
I can't remember what I used to say. I can't remember. But I wanted to just continue this little theme longer, because all of us on the show have met countless individuals, not all young people either, who have said that their lives were changed by watching the show, and what they are now doing was massively influenced by their experience of Next Generation. And only today, one young man told me that, well, he kind of hinted that there was one episode that kind of saved his life. And that's deeply gratifying to hear things like that. Thank you. And now shut up. And we're going to go over here, John. Is that, yeah. Okay.
Hi guys.
Hi.
So Stewart, I grew up watching, with my parents. I grew up watching Next Generation. I'm a huge fan. And Mr. Lancie, you're still my favorite villain. I have a question for both of you guys. What was your favorite and or funniest behind the scenes moment with the cast of the Next Generation for each of you?
Well, funny you should ask that, because I was sent this week a new blooper reel, which they're going to use as part of the launch of the new Blu-ray. You know, the whole series is coming out on Blu-ray. Yes. I can tell you, I've seen something. It looks sensational. It looks as though it was filmed last week. Anyway, they're going to add in all the extras a sort of 10-15 minute blooper reel. And for my money, the funniest thing is still, and always was, the turbo lift doors that don't open. What do you think, John?
Actually, you know, we were speaking a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned the fact that something that I had forgotten where it was in its positioning, that the last episode, the last shot was when we were doing the goo, all that goo stuff, right? One of the things about playing the character that I played is that, you know, I had to have a certain level of naughtiness. I don't know why. But it was late, and it was a late, dark, very, you know, a sound stage that wasn't used very often and what have you. And we were up high, if you remember. They had built a stage up pretty high, and the deal was that we had to bend down, or I had to bend down, and I had to pick up this goo, except it was actually, I'm very good spatially. I remember you were on this side, but I'll do it this side. And I had to pick up the goo, and I had to go, you see? But in the process of doing that, to make sure that there was sort of a sense of something else going on and a little bit of a twinkle, there was a guy underneath, one of the guys in the crew, who was holding the bucket of goo on a ladder. And so while I was saying, you see, I was also moving that hand out so that the drips of it were going onto his head. And he, of course, had to be very quiet. And I had this sort of inner sort of secret going on. Which is both a trick in acting and also it was fun. So
everybody's going to go home and put that episode in.
Yes, I know.
And actually, you know, John mentions a member of the crew, and we had pretty much exactly the same crew that night when John and I were together filming the last moments of Next Generation. It didn't happen around the poker table. That was a week or so earlier. And we had the same people who were there on day one of Encounter at Farpoint. And they were an extraordinary group of men. And on this blooper reel, you actually hear Cosmo Genovese reading the off-camera lines. He was our continuity man, our script supervisor, and part of his job was to read the lines of characters who were not there, which of course meant all those aliens on the view screen and so forth. And it was wonderful to hear Cosmo's voice. And in 7 years of filming, Cosmo Genovese, who must have been in his late 50s or 60s then, never missed one single day on the set. It was remarkable. They were a great team.
And the bane of every actor like myself who has a hard time remembering his lines, because he would be there at the end of the show, or at the end of the scene going, it was not wasn't, we need to shoot that again. I'm like, oh my God.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You have to pull me? Okay. Okay. Yep. Yes, I am, but I don't, nobody will leave this room because Mr. Lancie is going to stay with you for the next half an hour. And,